Hi everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new here, welcome back to my channel if you're a returning viewer subscriber. Today's video is going to be my wrap up for the month of February. I had a really successful reading month in February. Not only did I get to almost everything on my TBR, but I also gave really high ratings, which means that so far we're having a really successful reading year overall. I know we've only had 2 months, but things are just on track for a good reading year, which I'm really excited about. In February, I let TBR prompts choose my reads. You can check out the video, I have it linked, and also down below. And like I said, I got to every single book that was on that list, minus one. I could have pushed myself to finish it on the final day of February, but I just didn't fancy it, basically. It's not that deep, you know. I'll discuss it in my March wrap up. But I did get to 5 books, 4 of which were on the TBR, and 1 of which I added in for funsies. So we're going to start with that one first, actually. This setup is completely new. I've never filmed in this room before, or maybe I did like years and years ago, but like not since I basically like had this channel. That is because the lighting today is horrendous. It's really windy and rainy and everything like that, and there's no lights at all in my room. This is my mum's room, and she's got this most amazing low big window, which means that I can actually have some light on my face and not be sitting in the pitch black. Let's get on with the video. I think this is the first book I finished in February. It's a bit confusing because I was not reading this in a regular way. I'll explain later. And that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This was a reread. This is my first time rereading this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time, if you didn't know already. It is an absolute like 5/5 read, and a book that I have a real personal connection with. I did only read this book not last December, but December before that, December 2022. I don't reread very often, and I definitely don't reread books that I've read literally like a year ago, but I decided to pick this one up because I actually annotated it for someone in my life. It was for their birthday. Their birthday was in Feb, and I thought it was a really special thing to do, particularly as they also love the book. And this book is also a bit of a kind of personal thing between us. First of all, I had a lot of fun doing the annotations, but I also had a lot of fun rereading this book. Despite me having read it not long ago, I did pick up on a lot of new things, and I found it really enjoyable because I was actually looking at this book through a different lens. I'll give you a quick synopsis and I'll explain myself further. The book follows Connell and Marianne, and it is essentially about their relationship, not their like romantic relationship, but the relationship as 2 human beings within each other's life, kind of about their connection across a time span of many years between high school and the end of college. It's a really kind of moving book. It's a really interesting portrayal of the intricacies of relationships and how they're not kind of like black and white, probably not as much as they were in the past, and I really loved my reread of it. This is actually not the copy that I annotated. I annotated the original US paperback just because the person who was giving it to already owns this UK cover as well. So I don't actually have it with me. I don't have any photos or anything to show you, but some of the things that I used within my annotation key were 1, looking for evidence of Marianne's love for Connell, and 2, looking for evidence of Connell's love for Marianne. Looking at the book through that lens and the differences and what keeps these characters pulling apart and coming together, it opened up so many more avenues of viewing the book, or allowed me to explore so many more facets in the book, and I just really thoroughly enjoyed my experience, had the best time. I also read it extremely quickly considering that I was like heavily annotating every single page, almost every single line. Definitely recommend rereading your favorite book or one of your favorite books. It was a really like enriching experience, plus it allowed me to kind of tap into a little bit of how I felt that first time around. The next book I picked up in February, and I read in 2 sittings actually, was The Field Guide by Tony diterlizzi and Holly Black, which is the first book in the Spiderwick Chronicles. This is actually a bind up of the entire series, but the first book is the one that I got to 80 pages or something like that. So like I said, I read it in 2 sittings. I could have read it in 1. It was very, very easy to get through. It's a middle grade book. It's about a family and the kids within the family, particularly one of the boys in the family. He's actually a twin, and it's about him and his siblings, I guess, discovering like a fairy world, about all this like myth and legend uncovered before their eyes. I am literally absolutely enamored by the film adaptation of this series. It is called The Spiderwick Chronicles, and it is just everything and more. They've recently announced that they're actually adapting the TV show. Not sure how to feel about that yet, because I think it's going to be quite similar to the original film adaptation, and the film just 5/5 stars, one of my favourite films ever. So I've always wanted to pick up the books because I've never actually read them. What I would say with this is that the film is a very, very loyal adaptation. It just captures everything about the original story, like almost as if like novel had been like copy pasted into the screenplay. If you love the film, you're gonna love the book, but I also think that if you start with the film, you might be slightly like not let down, but like the book is not adding anything new to the story. It inherently had less magic within it because of the fact that the film added like the visual sense and like the sound effects, everything like that to the story, which I personally prefer as someone who has aphantasia and can't picture things naturally in their head. Seeing a visual representation of something I love is always going to be a bit more powerful, more engaging way of like consuming a story. Having said that though, I thought it was really fun. It was fun, it was cute. I think the fact that the movie like combined all the novels, but then there's like 5 novels or something like that, they don't really stand alone because the whole story is across the series. It felt like this first volume was like a little bit disjointed because it didn't have like a proper ending, and I wonder if I'm going to feel the same thing throughout the rest of the series, not having strong beginnings and strong endings, just simply because of the fact that the story spans across the whole series. Either way, a fun time. If you want a light middle grade, this is the sort of thing I feel like it would be fun to read to your kids or something like that. I definitely do recommend this one. I'm still excited to read the rest of the series, but the film's just great. It probably is like a little bit of a mistake that I watched the film first, but you know, I watched the film when I was a kid, and so I can't change things now. So that was that book. I had a really good time and very happy to find I picked it up, because I don't know when I would have otherwise picked it up had the number generator, had the TBR jar and not picked it. Next up, I read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. This is my second Lynn Painter book. I've read Better Than the Movies before by her, and I absolutely loved every single second of it, so I was very excited to pick up another one of hers. I own this one on Kindle, so we did read it digitally. Now, Mr. Wrong Number follows, I just googled their names because I forgot them and now I've forgotten them again, Liv and Colin. Liv goes through a really messy breakup that is just the most dramatic extra thing, but you know, all of Lynn Painter's books are like a little bit like that. They kind of read like movies in like a kind of classic 2000s rom-com kind of way, which I personally think is a lot of fun, and I feel like I have more patience with these books doing things that are a little bit more like extra, just because I know that they're not meant to be taken completely literally. All of that aside, Liz goes through a really dramatic breakup, and because she was living with her boyfriend at the time, she doesn't have anywhere to live, so she moves in with her brother. Her brother lives in a really swanky apartment, but it turns out that he's living there with his best friend Colin. Now Liv, that's so funny actually that 2 of her protagonists have basically identical names. Liv knows Colin because Colin is Liv's brother's childhood best friend, so it is definitely like brother's best friend. Anyways, so many tangents here. One day Liv gets a text from a random number, an unknown number, saying, "What are you wearing?" She's like, "Oh, that's a bit silly, like you've got the wrong number." So she texts him back. She's like, "Sorry, like don't think this has gone to the right person." And instead of the conversation being dropped there, they kind of start this like banterous conversation, texting conversation that gets kind of like a little bit flirty at points and things like that. What Liv doesn't know is that this Mr. Wrong Number who she's texting is actually Colin. Their in real life relationship starts as Colin like very much treating her like his best friend's little sister. Liv is like a bit of a mess. She's very kind of extroverted and everything seems to go wrong in her life. Colin just has he would never ever look at her in a way that he would be attracted to her. This story was hilarious, like absolutely laugh out loud funny. Like I had to pause because I was like trying to pull myself together. I was reading this in bed one night. I was like cackling. It was so good. I think that's where it really kind of excels, because it just has that like charm, that Lynn Painter charm. The humor was fantastic, the banter was really good, the characters felt very distinct. I was concerned because of the success of Better Than the Movies that her characters in the future might just be like a little bit copy paste of the previous ones, but it was nothing like that at all. They've definitely felt very much their own. Overall, I gave this book a 4 stars. My complaint with it was that the characters' attraction feels very physical, and so I felt like the reason why Liv changed within Colin's mind was because of his kind of like lust for her and not his attraction to her as a person. He was attracted to like who she was texting, but it definitely was very like physical focused, and that is partly because this book is an adult book and Better Than the Movies is YA, and I definitely think I prefer her YA content. This just felt a little bit too lusty for me. Everything else was so fun. I also found it very relatable, very fun in that way, despite it also being like a bit of a dramatized version of like more mundane real life events. Another thing I will say is that this book did a thing which I really hate, which is basically imply where you should be at in your life by a certain age. So Liv was kind of like hating on herself, but also like hating on people in general for living at home while they're in their 20s, or not having their dream job by the time they're like 22, like all these things. I was just like, bestie, it's fine. No one is on the same path, no one's doing the same thing, it's chill, you know, like everyone's at their own pace. I read this quote actually a little while ago that really like resonated with me, that was like, so this is a complete side point, but for anyone who needs to hear it, I feel like this could be useful. It's not just that we're on different paths in life, it's that like another person hasn't experienced the things that you've experienced. So if that person was thrown your life experience, all the obstacles you've had to face, how differently would they be creating their lives from the way that you are? Just a thought. That was another little complaint, but 4 stars, like such a fun time. I definitely want to own a physical copy of this book. I love Lynn Painter and I'm very excited to pick up, what's it called? The Love Wager, which is actually a companion book to this one. That one follows Liv's brother and his romance. I've low-key like put him in the friend zone, so I'm not sure. I'm interested to see how that experience is going to go, but yeah. Also, I forgot to tell you this kind of fun fact to go into it. Colin is based on Ryan Gosling. The entire time I was imagining Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, but in La La Land, so Mia and Sebastian, and that was just perfect because La La Land is one of my favourite films. So all round, pretty much good vibes. The next book that I read in the month of February was Submarine by Jo Dunthorne. This book is again one that I started with the film adaptation, and I decided to pick up the book after that. That's just because I watched the film with someone else who wanted to watch it. I didn't actually own the book at the time of watching the film either, so I couldn't do the whole read the book, watch the film thing. But either way, I still had like a 10 out of 10 experience reading this book. Meets Oliver Tate, 15 years old, convinced that his father is depressed and her mother is having an affair with her teacher. He embarks on a hilariously misguided campaign to bring the family back together. Meanwhile, he's also trying to lose his virginity before he turns 16 to his pyromaniac girlfriend Jordana. Will Oliver succeed in either aim? Submerge yourself in Submarine and find out. Very much like a tongue-in-cheek, brilliant look at like a very unique view of a coming of age novel. This is so much fun. You'll have been able to tell from that little blurb on the back, this is very much not for everybody. Some of the humor, I'm sure, will just like either go over people's head or might even like offend them slightly, but the people who get it, get it. This book is set in Wales, and I feel like if you're from the UK, then this is gonna probably like particularly resonate because there's so many references to things of like youth culture and like the schooling systems and things like that, and it's just the most fun thing ever. I picked this up because I watched the film and I really loved the film. The film had such a specific vibe. It was very visually beautiful, but it also was very, very funny. Very had that je ne sais quoi, you know what I mean? It was like, it displayed a view of things that was so like unlike my own life, but also such an accurate portrayal of what being, you know, a teenager is, what being 16 is. The kind of like social structure of your world, as well as the want to kind of branch away from your parents, but also feeling this desire to protect them, almost kind of like parent them. I thought it was just great. And what's really interesting is that the book is completely different from the film in so many ways. There were so many plot points that was skipped out from the film that were included in the book, but even with the like direct differences, the film captured the absolute essence of the book, and I just think that's so cool. The tone of the film. My little cat's come to join us. You gonna sit behind? You are? Hello, sweetest. Oh, what a cutie. You doing, funny one? Hello. Oh my gosh. Look how precious he is. I'm so distracted. So I'd say if you love the book, you will love the film, and if you love the film, you will love the book. They go hand in hand. It probably doesn't contain the same kind of like visual beauty, but there is like the beauty of a kind of like gentle family life in just like, it could be any family, and Oliver could be any boy. And I love how like kind of weird he is in just such a good normal way. It's such a good book. And actually what's really interesting is that the author wrote this when he was at university. I think he actually ended up dropping out or something like that, but anyways, it became a bestseller, and it's such a well-written book. And I gave this one 4 stars. I was going between a 4 and a 4.5. I think I kind of lost interest in parts towards the end, which is why I didn't get the 4.5. The film for me is a 4.5. Potentially like if I reread this and I rewatched the film and stuff like that, they become 5-star experiences, but for now, 4 stars. And then the final book that I managed to finish in the month of February was Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the 3rd and final book in the Caraval trilogy. I've read Caraval for the first time in 2018, and then I reread it last year, and I've read Legendary for the first time last year, and so we finally got around to reading Finale and polishing off the series. I love this series, near and dear to my heart. It's become like a comfort book for me, which I kind of never thought I would experience. And I think with Caraval it was partly because I was kind of tapping into my 2018 self by having reread it, but even with Legendary and Finale, they just feel so cozy and comfortable for me. There's actually some like scary themes in this, but still it's just so wonderful. It's the absolute epitome of like a really well written, well constructed, imaginative, exciting, feel good, with all the drama filled YA fantasy book. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, then I definitely recommend giving the series a go. Finale is my favourite in the trilogy. I gave Caraval 4 stars, Legendary 4 stars, although it was more kind of like a 4.25, I just don't rate in 0.25s, and I gave Finale 4.5. The reason why it was not a 5 is just because I don't think these books could ever be a 5, but I just don't even care. It just didn't need to be that. I champion this series, it's so good. I'll tell you a little bit about what Caraval's about because I can't really go into detail with Finale, obviously, because it's the final book in the series. Caraval follows Scarlett and Donatella Drachma. Sisters, they're really different, but they're very different personalities. They live in a piece of land in this like fictional world, and the characters, but particularly Scarlett's dream, is to go to Caraval. Caraval is so much more than this. It's like a circus, it's a game, it's like a full like interactive experience that you live, but you're kind of playing along. And the whole idea of Caraval is like how much of this is real and how much of it isn't. The story is just so incredibly creative. Like I know I've already said that. I think that Stephanie Garber, like as well as just seeming like the loveliest person on the earth, a genius. So I think she's so imaginative, and I really admire what she came up with, what she managed to construct out of nothing. From book 2, the world kind of opens up. So much more is introduced. Also along the lines of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, you kind of start to explore that storyline a little bit more. You're meant to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series after this one, but I know that a lot of people have done the reverse. I think if you started with the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, I still recommend going back to this trilogy, because even if it's not your favourite thing in the world, like it's not as good as the future books, I think that this is still like so solid. This book in particular, a lot to do with the girl's past. It also follows the love interests. I'm absolutely head over heels in love with Julian in this series. Like top 3 book boyfriends. Reese is always at the top, but then Julian, like, he's up there because he is just, he's genuinely perfect. Like I literally can't fault him. And like we see his flaws, but like I see past them, you know. I'm literally in love with him. I read the first couple of chapters of this physically and I switched over to the audiobook. The audiobook is fantastic. The audiobook is so good. For every single book in the series, they're all free on Spotify and they're all so good. The best audiobooks I've ever listened to, basically. I love the narrator. I'm actually interested in reading books simply because she's narrated them, like even if I don't care about what they're about, because she's so good and she just brings all the characters to life. She puts on accents. I don't know, just 10 out of 10 audiobook experience. It's such like a darkly magical story and Stephanie Garber's writing is just incredible. So good, so good. And I'm really excited for the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, because if that series is better than this, then, you know, I think it could be like 5-star territory. So there we have it. Those are the 5 books that I managed to get. Oh my gosh, I almost dropped them. 5 books I managed to get to in the month of February. Such a good reading month. We had such good ratings. We had a 5, a 4, a 4, a 4, and a 4.5. I'm so happy with these reads. I'm so excited to read more books. I think we've got a good thing going. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it so much. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, because that's how I could tell that you did. And I'll see you very soon for another video, literally in a couple of days. I've got so many exciting videos coming this month. If you watched my TBR for March, you will have seen there are a couple of reading vlogs I'm filming, which like I gave little hints of, or basically blatantly told you what they were in that video. I also have a reading vlog that I've been working on since August. Fingers crossed that one will actually be making its way to you this month, but I'm going to try and make it work. So if you want to stick around, please subscribe to see the future content. Sending my love to you from here to wherever you may be in the world. Little Win sends his love too. Do you want to say hello? Do you want to send your love? Yeah. Can you see him? Can you see his little face? Hello, little face. What a cutie. Okay, bye bye.